Welcome, beautiful people. Welcome to Emotional Answers to Chronic Fatigue. On this channel, I talk about how to heal chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue and other chronic illnesses by healing old emotional wounds that we have that are deeply embedded in the body. The mechanism that it happens through is the freeze state of the nervous system. We are going to be doing a deep dive on the freeze state today. And I have a special treat. I've got my dear friend Kayla here today, and she is an expert on body work and embodiment. And this is a really hard place for me, and I think a lot of people with chronic illnesses, because how you develop chronic illnesses and symptoms in a lot of cases, if it's an energetic cause, is through dissociating, a severe severing of mind from body. So what we have to do to heal it is to get back in the body. And that's really difficult. And I'm going to talk about some steps to get there, because it's really difficult for people who have these patterns. And so many of us do. So Kayla is really amazing at this. And so I'm excited today. She is going to help me. This is my new growth edge for healing in terms of continuing to move more energy through my body and getting deeper into the body. So I'm really excited to have you today. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I'm Kayla. I'm an embodied movement and shadow work facilitator. And all that means is I basically work with the way that the body shows up now, however that is, whether it has a lot of energy, no energy. And I work with the intuitive expression of like what your body wants to do, now, hopefully that we can open up into like a bigger expansion and expression of how the body actually longs to express itself. Because we live in a world that, for better or worse, kind of facilitates self-censorship, playing small, not really wanting to use our voice or be too big or too loud in some instances, especially for women or people who experience chronic illness. So I think that's all I want to say about embodied movement. Like, I really just am here to work with how your body is showing up now and not forcing it to express something it's not ready to express. And I think that's a really important boundary to have with yourself, to not expect too much too soon.
I love that.
The body needs to work slowly through some of this energy, especially if you're in freeze. Because you will hit resistance, and the resistance will show up, and it will likely be like, freeze more if you're pushing.
Yeah.
And so we're really just looking to be
true.
Curious here.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to drop the judgment. We're going to step into some playfulness.
Yeah.
We're going to bring in some fun. We're going to laugh. We're going to love. And we're just going to see like how sound and small somatic movement can usher in a little bit more transformation, a little bit more release.
Yeah. I love that. She's so comfortable with the body work, and I love it. And even when we first met, I was noticing how, as she talks about it and stuff, it's just like, oh, it's a little uncomfortable for me. It's a little, because even though I've been healing and getting myself out of the freeze state slowly but surely for the last 2 years as I've healed the illnesses and symptoms, it's still, and I don't know how many of you feel this way, but I think it's pretty common when you've got these patterns, is to when you start to hear some details about people going into the body and what it's like and sort of visceral language. I used to start freezing up and just sort of glazing over in response. And just this ick factor. I use this word on my channel a lot because it's just how it feels to me. It felt icky. And when I first learned about inner child work, I was like, ew, I can never do that. That's ew. It felt icky, sticky. Like, I'm not doing that. I'll find another way. I'm not doing that.
Anything but that.
Yeah, exactly. And so I believe that one way that can work really well to do this work of unfreezing the body is going in like a stepwise fashion. And so, as you were saying, going all the way into really intense body work immediately isn't going to work, because you're just going to freeze up even more, like you say. So for me, one of the first steps to start moving emotional energy and getting back into my body was to start with breathing. So I talk about elliptical breathing that I use to heal adrenal fatigue, but it's any kind of calming breathing exercise that's just deep diaphragmatic breathing. The most calming is the inhale is shorter than the exhale. So you just prolong the exhale as long as possible. And when you diaphragmatically breathe, it actually massages the adrenal glands. So it triggers your body to go into the parasympathetic state, which is what we want. Because the freeze state is another threat response, just like fight or flight. So when we're going into fight or flight or freeze, what we have to do is get the body back into parasympathetic mode. Now, freeze is harder, a lot harder to get back into the calm state than if you're in fight or flight. And when we have these chronic illnesses, they get embedded in the body because we are unconsciously dissociating from whatever emotion is coming up. And that pattern originates in childhood, because in childhood, you don't have the emotional resources to deal with certain really intense feelings of fear of rejection and shame are some big ones that are really intense, and it would overwhelm a child to have to try to work through that emotion. So human beings have different defenses as children, and one of those is to dissociate and separate the mind from the body a little bit. And so when those patterns develop in childhood, those patterns continue through adulthood, and over time, whenever those emotions are getting triggered, that same energy is getting embedded more and more. Like you're building up, you're accumulating emotional energy. And emotional energy has a profound impact on the chakras, especially because the chakras are emotional centers in our body. And so then we get these distortions in the emotional centers, the chakras. And when we get distortions, then the energy doesn't work right and the communication starts failing, and we start getting biological effects. Cellular changes, mitochondrial changes is the one that is directly related to fatigue. And we have mitochondria that go more and more into a cell defense mode because it's getting the message that it's in threat all the time. So that's the link. So this freeze state is the link between your emotions and chronic illness. So when you've got this pattern of certain emotions that keep getting triggered, like shame's my big one. My big one.
Shame is a big one for a lot of people, and I keep bringing women up because I mostly work with women. Mm-hmm. But we do live in a world where women have been culturally conditioned to make things that go wrong in their life about their identity, and that's like how shame gets embedded into the system, right? I failed at something means I'm a failure, not that like I just failed at something. It's like we take it so personally and we shame ourselves. We're just in this perpetual shame cycle. So shame is a huge one for a lot of people, and learning to step out of the shame cycle is, I think, a big part of probably not just chronic fatigue, but any chronic illness and setback in general.
Yeah, pretty much everybody has shame.
And that's because we're like identified with the thoughts in our head, and the feelings and the emotions. Like we're totally absorbed by those thoughts of I'm not enough. Oh my gosh, here I am hating myself. Like, of course you're hating yourself. Like, can't you just like get out of it? Like you're so identified with that spiral. And the practice
that's such a good point.
For embodiment is really starting by not dissociating, but depersonalizing.
Yeah.
And this means catching yourself talking to yourself, and then saying like, oh, okay, I'm not those thoughts, and I'm just gonna witness what's going on inside. And that gap that you give yourself, that space that you take from being so absorbed with the thoughts and feelings in your mind, gives you the power to actually step into curiosity and observation, and gives you the momentum to actually begin working with the body.
Yeah.
And so if that's where you're at and you just need to practice that depersonalization first, that's a perfect place to start, I think. And that, to me, that's body work, because you have to become aware of the thoughts that you're thinking and the emotions that you're feeling before you can actually physically move them.
That's such a good point. I love that. I like to think of it as you're playing the adult version of you and the child version of you at the same time. So I talk about this on a video I did about how to cry to heal. You have to do that. Like you have to play, because crying just for crying doesn't work, because there are wounds that people feel like, well, I could just cry forever about that. And that's because it's so easy to get when you have something from childhood especially, it's so easy to highly identify with that. And so if you're just completely identified with that wound and pain, you can cry forever.
I love this.
I know.
See, this is embodiment work right here. Like, you're already doing it.
Really?
Like, you're already expressing, like...
I do use my hands a lot.
Yeah. Such supportive energy.
Yeah. But then the trick is, for people who have dissociating patterns, my trouble was always not identifying too much, but I know that's a problem for a lot of people, and I have had that before, for sure, especially about shame, like you pointed out. That's probably the easiest one to get sucked into the identification trap. But then if you have patterns of disconnection and dissociating, then you can go the extreme in the other way and not be able to access the emotion itself. And that's where we get stuck, because in order to move the emotional energy that's wreaking havoc in our body, we have to feel that emotion and access it through emotion and vibration. One of the reasons that crying works when you can access that emotion is that you're feeling the emotion of the child self, your child self, but you're also playing that observer that you're talking about that's a little separated, and it's like you're sort of the parent comforting the child, but not saying it's okay, stop. You're saying it's okay to feel this, and I'm here for you, and I love you. So you're sending loving energy. And when you don't know how to do this, I couldn't do that just because I was told. So I talk about havening is one way to step your way into that, because it's like, even though you can't feel love for yourself in that moment, you are sending love by doing these loving strokes. And I'll put a link to a havening video down below in the description. We have to get into the body because that's where the emotions are trapped. And so this stepwise process is how I've done it. I feel like it's a really effective way so that you don't overwhelm the body. So doing breathing, working in havening, and then learning how to cry effectively. When shaking, doing some like body shaking, and that can be really intense. And I could never just jump into that. But that vibration is really important, and just really getting visceral in your body. So this is my next growth edge. I'm really excited because it's really getting intensely in the body and super aware and really feeling. And the reason that we cringe at that is because a part of us, our inner child, knows there's stuff in there that she doesn't want to see, like she doesn't want to feel, and she's like, too much, and you just have to stay at that observer, slightly detached self, because you have the resources to go in there.
And from that place, just being curious. There's no force. We're not going to make anyone or anything do anything. If you just don't feel it, don't force it. This is just a way to relate to yourself differently and learn to source self-care, rather than practicing withdrawal, self-abandonment. And it takes the time that it takes. Yeah. I really want to emphasize that. Basically, this is just a part of you that is looking for love and trust, and you're just walking yourself into deeper forms of trust and intimacy with yourself. And it's just an open invitation.
So I'm really excited to get into this, and I don't know if you want to use me as an example, because something that was coming up for me this morning as we were getting ready to record, one of my symptoms that is a result of the freeze response is brain fog. And it's a big topic, and it's one of the symptoms that has really pervaded my life the longest, almost longer than fatigue. Brain fog for me, I believe that it's freezing about fear of not being good enough, which ultimately underneath is a fear of rejection. I'll be rejected because I'm not good enough, is the belief. This is one that I have not been able to access the actual emotion. So that's why I'm excited to try to access it with what Kayla does. And this stuff just happens in its own time. We can plant all the seeds and be prepared and have all the resources and tools. And then it's really up to the universe to choose when that emotion is actually going to come up. And your body knows when you're ready for it, is another way of putting it. Your body knows when you're ready to really cry and release that, and it's not going to come up before that. I really want to access it and move that emotional energy.
Yeah, it's probably a conglomerate of different feelings and emotions. So it's probably not just going to be anger that shows up. It's probably not just going to be grief that shows up, right? It's going to, like an emotion is going to show up, and then if you can sit with it long enough, and this is the practice, if you can really sit with and feel and acknowledge that emotion. I think they said anywhere between 20 seconds and a minute and a half, like, is when an emotion will change to a different emotion. Like, they are so fleeting, but they they feel like all encompassing when they wash over you.
But you're right, yeah, they come in like 60 to 90 second waves.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you're right.
Lauren's got the information.
But that's interesting that it will change to a different emotion.
It will.
That's interesting.
Because I feel like they're all interconnected, and like emotions aren't isolated phenomenon, right? Emotions are not just like sadness, anger, frustration. Mm-hmm. You know, there's so much more nuance to our emotions, and I think naming is a process towards healing, and it's useful for a time. Just like the body is useful for a time. There's not like a fix-all solution. There's different avenues to come into healing and growth.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say that at some point you can do all of the work. You can really understand the story, the trigger, the whole narrative of like why you express and feel or not express and not feel a certain way. And you can tie it all the way back to like an experience you had. At some point, we have to be willing to set down the story and to set that down and use that knowledge as a way to just access the body and now let the body do the work. Because we've really allowed ourselves the time to process, which is a huge part of healing trauma. Yeah. So I'm not saying like
it's
bypass that.
And the story a lot of times can help you get to the emotion that you need to heal. But it can also go the other way of getting you to too highly identify with it. Like if you get stuck on your story.
Or just as a way to be like, I understand what's going on here. But body work is not about understanding so much more as it's about allowing and feeling and releasing.
The hardest things to do.
Yeah, like allowing the understanding. Like now we're gonna bring our brain and our mind back into the body. And we're just gonna train ourselves how to, because we've done this fight or flight or dissociation or freeze. And we're gonna like train ourselves lovingly, curiously, how to just bring that awareness back down. You know, access the heart, access our belly and our hips and our feet, and really like physically feel and be in our bodies and feel the joy and the expansion and the sensation of our body and just like the beauty that life can be with this vehicle, with this beautiful gift of like living life. Like the whole point is to come into and remember your self-expression and your beingness and the gift it is to experience life on the physical manifest level. So it's a slow coming back home and coming back down, and I just want you to like let it glide over you in a soft way, you know, because part of the reason we dissociate is it was never safe to be here fully. It just was never safe. And I don't want to get hurt again. That's essentially what embodiment work is to me. It really is about feeling safe to fully be here and to fully bring online every beautiful aspect of yourself and to express that in the world and, you know, like give and receive the gift of life.
And that has to happen in tandem with healing old emotions. To feel safe in your body, you've got to heal the wounds that are there. And so it's incorporating these, you know, these two things.
I have to move. Sorry. I guess if I were to say it in one sentence, it's eventually we have to step out of conceptualizing the world around us and experientially understanding the world around us. And that is through our body. And I'm super excited.
Me too. I'm super excited.
That was a lot. That was a lot of good stuff. And now we're gonna maybe take a body break. But feel free to pause the video if you are feeling activated, because I'm feeling activated. I feel like that was a really rich conversation that we just had, and it does kind of
need to decompress a little.
So if you need to find your center, you need to pause the video, take a break. Please do that. Take a little body break, but then we'll be back.
We'll be right back with some body work with Kayla. right, welcome back. We're back. We're going to do some body work with Kayla.
A couple things before we get started. I am going to start with an awareness practice. It's kind of like meditation, but we're not going to be like meditating very long. And I just want to invite you to, make sure you're in a space where you feel like you can slow down and you can tune in for just a couple minutes. And if that's not you right now, fortunate for you, it's a YouTube video. You can come back whenever you want. Maybe light some candles, get a blanket if you feel cold. Like, just give your body as much comfort and water and good vibrations as possible.
Yeah, I like going in the dark.
Yeah, I
really
love
helps.
turning my lights down low. I have like string lights and I light a bunch of candles and it's a whole vibe.
Yeah.
But
if you have an eye mask, you can lay down if you're cold. Like, that's how I do it. I do the eye mask,
Yeah.
sometimes the earplugs if I'm meditating, and like get my covers all.
Yeah.
I get super warm. It makes like a safe little cocoon. It's like anything you can do
and that's what we're going for.
Yeah, make you feel as safe as possible.
Because right now we're just creating a container that is just you time, like strictly you time. So with that, if you feel like you are in a place where you can close the eyes, I would invite you to close the eyes. If not, please take a soft gaze and begin to turn your awareness inward and just come back home to yourself. Take a moment to find and locate the breath. No need to change its rhythm. Allowing the breath to deepen, becoming aware of the sounds around you. Allowing the breath to fill up the upper chest just a little bit deeper. And as if your awareness or your consciousness was a spotlight on your internal body, let it drop down the body. So from the head, bring your awareness to the throat. From the throat to the shoulders, noticing any sensation. Knowing that there's nothing to do here, we're just noticing. Into the heart space or the heart chakra. Allowing the breath and the awareness to deepen still down into the low ribs near the belly button. Noticing what's here. Allow your awareness to sink into the hips, feeling the left hip and the right hip, and the weight of your pelvis. And finally, allowing the awareness to drop into the legs, down into the soles of the feet, and into the earth. Taking a moment here to notice the whole body. And now tuning into one another. I know that sounds a little funny. Knowing that there's another body either across the screen or for Lauren, right here in this room. And bringing the awareness back onto ourselves. And finally expanding to the room that you occupy. Feeling for the edges. And when you open your eyes, noticing any clarity or change in how you feel compared to how you felt. There may be no noticeable changes, and there may be some. Perhaps there's a slow movement in the body already. I know for me, I tend to rock. And from this space of feeling present, some things may be coming up for you right now because you may have been gone for a while, and I just want to honor that. And if that's where you find yourself, as always, I want you to know that you can pause the video and take this as slow as you need. But I'm going to keep going. And I just want to invite everybody into a place of curiosity and playfulness where we can set down the judgment of feeling like we're not doing it right or that it needs to look and sound a certain way, and giving yourself the permission, hopefully because you're in a place that feels safe and probably virtually alone, the space to self-express and to not feel like you have to hold back. For a lot of people who have the tendency to freeze, I notice that movement, even in the smallest forms, can be hard to access. And I want to honor that by starting with the voice and using the voice as a gateway into generating even subtler forms of movement in the body. So instead of us, maybe rolling around on the floor or doing a little bit of yoga or shaking, we're essentially going to make sound that allows the tissues and the bones to kind of vibrate in the body. And hopefully that will allow some space to be created and made in the system. So I'm gonna do it with you. So you're not gonna sound weird and it's not gonna be funky and scary. And for those who are watching, you're probably alone, so.
When I was first on this journey, even when I was alone, I would feel shame would come up even if I made sound when I knew that I was alone.
Yeah.
And so you might notice some shame coming up. If shame does come up, what should we do with that? So observe it and just see it. I see the shame, I feel it. Yeah. Would you recommend locating where that is in the body immediately?
So we'll get there.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just want to bring playfulness into this container because the problem with doing this kind of work is we take it so seriously. That's
so true.
I just want to heal, and I understand.
So true.
But playfulness and empathy literally dismantle shame and not enoughness and rejection.
Because they're both in the sacral chakra.
Yeah. So just tuning back into the body. And I'm going to invite Lauren to vocalize some of this for me. And please know that you don't have to make any sound if you're not ready. But I just need you to speak of where you feel it.
Yeah.
So dropping back into the body, bringing that spotlight of awareness all the way down into the hips, the legs, and the soles of the feet. And when you feel present, will you just let me know?
Yeah, I feel present.
Good. And if you could name a place in your body where you're feeling the most sensation or the most constricted.
Yeah, I brought up the sacral chakra because that's where I'm feeling it. It's like the front of my lower abdomen.
And what is the sensation? Is it warm? Is it tingly? Is it numb? Is there a pulse?
That's a hard question. It feels like it's speaking. Like it's...
And if does it have something to say? You don't have to say it out loud if that's too vulnerable. You just say it inwardly.
I can't identify what it's saying or what the sensation is.
So moving up the body just a little bit from that place, is there another space in the body that you can feel and access more tangibly?
I can feel my throat.
Is there a sensation there?
Yeah, it's a little constricted. It feels a little tight.
And if this place in your body could make a sound, and this is where I'm inviting you into making sound if that feels comfortable for you, and I'll do it alongside you.
Okay.
But also know that you don't have to. If it could make a sound, what kind of sound would it make? For example, for me, it's... and maybe one or two more really good ones. Good. And just taking a moment to notice any shifts in the body.
My throat feels a little, I don't know, soothed or something. Like it felt good to do.
Does it feel like it needs more?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't want to go on forever. I'll do it one more.
Yeah. And really source what you're feeling in the sacral. Like drive it up through and you're already shaking. I can see that.
I felt you do it, so I was like, I should do it too.
Oh yeah, I'm like very shaky.
Then I feel like it did, but it felt good. Like my body wanted to do that. It's interesting now. My voice is coming out like that vibration of that sound I just made. It's like
you're
deeper.
You're embodying deeper aspects of yourself and more present and aware and more here.
That's interesting.
Like as you speak, can you notice that, yes, you're thinking, but your thoughts and your voice is being sourced from a deeper place within you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
So just take as much time as you need before you come back into the room and you open your eyes. That is a way that sound can subtly and slowly introduce vibration to the body, right? Like, did you notice how we weren't building fire in the system?
Yeah.
We're not trying to overwhelm the system and burn away everything that's there, because that seems too scary in freeze. But if I can just sit and sound,
Yeah, those kinds of like, yeah,
you know,
like those guttural noises.
I need to get something out. Like I can't access. I don't know. It feels numb. It feels like I can't access what I'm feeling. Go higher.
Yeah. Oh, I love
And
that. Okay,
use
that's
that
really helpful.
instrument.
Yeah.
You know, the body is an instrument.
Yeah.
It could just be, even if you can't access the throat, it could be mouth humming, like, and it'll shake even up here.
I guess I was humming.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, I was.
And then it went deeper into like a growl.
Yeah.
And then I said, source it from like beneath you.
Yeah.
And help the energy move up and out.
Yeah. Yeah, I could feel that. That was cool.
So,
and it's interesting that it makes so much sense that a lot of the sounds that we're going to want to make are going to be the deeper ones, because those are the low vibration ones.
Yeah.
And, you know, lower chakras are where the wounds are stored, like the original wounds are stored, and those are lower frequencies. So when you're moving that energy, it makes sense that it would be a lower guttural sound. I guess. I mean, you tell me.
No,
if it's going to be usually those lower.
Yeah, my deepest moments of body healing have been with like the sacral and the root chakra, where I'm like growling. I mean, I'm alone in my apartment. You know, I feel like a bear. And I'm like, you know, and I'm like adding. So that was just one piece. You know, eventually you'll look to add body movement in tandem with the sounding. Yeah. So when you're growling, you're also like moving the hips, or you're like moving the arms and the back, like kind of just wherever you can feel the vibration, you're like molding it like clay. Like you're just moving with it.
Okay.
And that's why it's called intuitive movement. I'm not here teaching you like a specific pose and a specific way to sound. What does your body need in order, what vibration, what movement to unlock the stiffness and move into fluidity?
Because that takes more embodiment to be able to not only do a movement that you're being told to do, like you would in yoga, but to be able to reach that intuition, which comes from the body. Yeah. To feel, what does my body want to do right now? Yeah. So that's a growth edge. And clearly it's a growth edge to be able to identify sensations in the body. Because I still, like, I don't know how to describe that sensation in my sacral, but it's so familiar. It's like every time that I go into my body, that's usually the place that's speaking to me. But it's hard for me to identify what is the sensation with a word. It's almost like, it's like slightly irritated. Like the front of my abdomen is like slightly.
You see that movement that you're doing? And I just want to bring this to the viewers. Yeah. Because if you found that really challenging and hard to access anything, try talking about it to yourself, or journaling about it. Yeah. Because you'll discover like, oh, there's this like frustrating tone to it. And like, look at what your body instinctually does to express frustration. Like me, I like get tight, right? And you were just like, just like irritated. Like that movement right there is going to help you get into the sacral.
Interesting.
Right? Like you could just sit here and go, see how you could add that movement with the sound. This is the next step, right? Small movement with sound.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
And for some people like me, sound was the last piece. I was so blocked in my throat chakra. So I just want to say it's not a linear process. You're not going to start with the mind and then, you know, access body work by starting with like sound and then movement. Like it could be like shaking or I don't know, yoga or some other form of movement first before sound.
Stretching.
Yeah. It's not linear. And you just have to be willing to like let go of the structure that you think needs to be there and just allow what's ready to come through and how it wants to come through. but you already
Yeah.
instinctively know like how to shake.
Yeah, that's so interesting. That's so interesting. So
But
I guess the process is unique to you because it's whatever is comfortable and yet slightly pushing your
yeah, a little
edge
expanding
of body work, of embodying
yeah.
these energies.
Yeah,
Cool.
and I would like to just end by a reflection from you on like noticing how still in your body you are. Like if you could just close the eyes and tune in for a second and just take a moment to recognize where you feel yourself embodying. Like what's the lowest space in your body that you can feel?
I guess where I'm sitting.
Yeah. So you can feel your sits bones on the pillow.
Yeah.
And I would just be curious to know if that's like how you were feeling at the start of this whole recording series.
No, I was not noticing that part of me.
Yeah, and just noticing that and thanking yourself for the time that you took to be super present with yourself.
Yeah.
And how you did do a scary-ish thing.
It was scary. Yeah.
But you're still present with yourself. And so, like, I really want to drive this home that you didn't activate trauma for yourself because you really were present with, is this safe? And is this something that I feel like I can express and do right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can, like, already tell that you're much more present.
Oh, really? You can see that?
And I can
feel
hear it in your voice.
That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah. So, whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Is it staying in there?
Yeah, it feels good. There's a lot to body work. I feel like that was a brief introduction. I'd be interested to know what kind of questions there are or if people found it really challenging because I typically work with people who've been on this path for a while, so they're probably a little bit more intermediate and advanced, and I'd be curious to know like what gaps I can fill for people who are just beginning.
Yeah, and
curious.
Intermediate and advanced.
Yeah,
I don't
of course.
know, where you guys are, but please comment below about what your experience was or what you thought, or if it's
how I can grow.
how you can grow.
Maybe you're
if it's too scary to do, but you'll watch it.
Yeah.
Or if you did some of it, or if you did all of it, and what your thoughts were.
Normally, when I do like women's circles, because it's a group setting, so it's way less safe for people because there's other people in the room.
Yeah.
So I'll usually start with, like a little meditation, but then I'll first demonstrate. I'll be like, all right, so we're all feeling a little present, and the sensation in my body that I can access the most right now is in my sacral chakra. And I'll be like, I'm gonna let out a sound that my sacral chakra wants to let out. And I do it in front of everyone really loudly so that they know that it's safe to express themselves. And then I invite them for 3 rounds to do the same thing with me so that we've all made sound in this space, and there's like no way to take each other seriously after that.
Yeah, if you can actually do the first one and like get past.
Well, and even if you can't, and you see everybody else in the room, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
One day I'll be able to do this.
Exactly.
You know, and it's that playful energy, that curiosity that really breeds like sustainable healing.
Yeah. This was so amazing and wonderful. I hope we can do more of these. Let us know in the comments what you guys thought and what questions you have and everything. This has just been so great. I'm excited to incorporate this into my rituals and practices too.
Yeah.
Healing.
And body work is so fun because, this is a chronic illness channel.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit more serious and directed towards, safety and transforming stuck energy. But most of my work, I do some of that, but most of my work is reestablishing playfulness in life and really just learning how to enjoy the body and the
That's
way that it
important.
wants to move.
So important.
So just know that body work isn't like serious. You know,
No.
there's like levels to unlock, and the more safety you create in your body, like the more expansive you'll become, and then you'll just want to like go do handstands everywhere. Well, I can't promise the handstands.
Yeah. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that attitude. Thank
This
you
was so
much.
fun.
It was so fun.
It was such a growth edge for both of us. This was a growth
For
edge
sure.
for you with the body stuff, but for me, even
And recording
Recording.
with somebody else. Yeah.
and collaborating, super fun. So thank
Super
you for
fun.
letting me join.
Thank you so much for being
Tell
here.
them how they can work with you.
Yeah, if you're interested in working with me, I'm taking one-on-one clients where we can go through your own individual healing process together and try to accelerate the speed. You know, I believe everyone can heal on their own, but it's so helpful to have somebody talking about it with you and facilitating it. Facilitators are really important, and community is really important, and support is crucial. So it's really helpful to have somebody who's been through the process, loves talking about it and thinking about it, and help you identify your patterns and talk through what emotions are in your body that are coming from your symptoms, what emotions and beliefs are connected to the symptoms, and then how to work with that. If you would like to work with me one-on-one, my email address is down below. Send me an email. And
If you choose to work with Lauren, who is a fabulous facilitator at all this stuff, like you articulate the psychology and the biological aspects like really well. Yeah, like you bridge the gap between heady information and really making it accessible to people. So I just want you to see your brilliance in that. And I think your clients will appreciate that.
Okay.
But if you sign up to have fun with Lauren on one-on-one sessions or anything, you'll get 30% off some sessions with me in the future if you so choose to do some body work.
Yeah, tell them your website, because she's got amazing offerings, and obviously she is incredibly gifted with working with the body and very knowledgeable about the psychological aspects of it too, and the emotions that are in the body and working with them. So I would highly recommend.
The website will be down below as well, but it's called Awkward Bodhi. So it sounds like body, but it's spelled Bodhi, which is the Sanskrit term for awakening or spiritual awakening. So it's like the Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree. So Awkward Bodhi, BODHI.com.
And I'll put the website down in the description.
Yeah, I'm also launching, if you're just looking for the fun and you're not really looking to go deep and access all your fiery wounds and transform those yet, and you just want to have some fun, I'm launching a 3-week self-expression and sensuality series in the next coming weeks. So if you want that, you can get on the email list. That will be down below as well. And
nice.
Yeah, we'll
so if you sign up for a one-on-one session with me before February 14th, then you get 30% off of her amazing offerings.
Yeah,
So-
except for the 16-week intensive. Sorry guys, that one's a lot.
Yeah. It's intensive. It's intensive. So thank you so much for joining. I hope this was really helpful to you all in your healing journey. And again, let us know what you thought and how we can be more supportive to you in any way and what you're curious about and want to talk about more. So thank you so much for joining us. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day, and we will see you.
Yeah.
I'll see you on the next video, but hopefully
Yeah.
we'll be doing some more together.
Yeah, and thanks for letting us be imperfect as we navigate this
Yeah.
new thing.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.